What is going on, my Yu-Gi-Oh friends? So, it's been a minute, but first let me just post that the next great Yu-Gi-Tuber submission is in for round 2. I'll post the link right here down below in the video, and it'll also be right here on the screen. I will actually honestly say I don't think I was as happy with the outcome. I don't think everybody else was either, but hey, if you support me, go vote me up. But anyways, let's go talk about the video that I'd like to talk about today, which is a card discussion. And yes, I didn't really want to do another card discussion, but I wanted to make some content, and I did really like this card, so that's why I was wanting to talk about it. But I can't do my duel videos because Dev Pro is still working around. I was working on maybe working with Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, but until I finally decide to just go to Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, Dev Pro is almost fixed, I think, because they said be patient, the servers are going to be online soon when I just got on to try again. So, until then, we will have more duel videos for a little bit, just so I can get in the variety of playing those. But let's talk about the card that I want to talk about today. Alright, so I'm going to read it off of here because I don't want to make sure I get it wrong or anything. So according to Dev Pro's new card area, and I might be late to this card, by the way, too, but Shadow Spread Virus Trap card. And it's just like the other virus cards in a way. So, you tribute one dark monster with 2,000 or more defense, check your opponent's hand and all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of the third turn after this card's activation, and destroy all monsters with 1,500 or less defense. So I think this card is bomb. Why? Because while you have the other virus cards like Crush Card, which they kind of reworded so it's not as great as it once was, and then you have Deck Devastation or Destruction Virus? Yeah, Deck Destruction Virus, and then Epidemic Virus. And Deck Destruction Virus doesn't really, it's only 1,500 and less attack monsters. So while for certain decks that you play against, that could be probably pretty useful if you have a deck that can utilize that card. And Eradicator Epidemic Virus, I do think, is a great card. I think it's still a very viable card if you have a deck that can use it. Don't try to somehow throw a dark monster in there and play it. But if you have a deck that plays darks or sometimes has a higher dark monster count to some degree, I feel like it is a decent card, but once again, not a complete staple. Only works for specific decks. And that is the same with this. Obviously, you need to play a dark deck with this. But the reason why I like this is because having a monster, when it comes to big beaters with 2,000 or more defense, well, can be somewhat problematic to use, depending on the deck. Right in mind, and people are going to laugh at me, it brings up Dark Worlds, but I don't think there's any good monsters with 2,000 defense or not. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Graf has a defense at 1,700, and I'm not sure if his defense goes up with Gates of the Dark World.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
But with that being said, there are other dark archetypes that do utilize, that can utilize this card. But let's get out of the deck, how decks can utilize it part. Let's get into the effect of it. A lot of monsters have 1,500 or less defense. Not all, but a lot. And that is a lot more use, a better use, than your alternatives to this card. 1,500 or less defense can pretty much wipe out your opponent's hand. Not all the time. It's, once again, kind of a deck specific, so depending the dark deck you are playing, it might be more of a side deck worthy card, because if your opponent plays a lot of higher defense cards, it doesn't really matter, and it won't affect them. So, but if it's playing against, say, Yang Zings, there's a lot of monsters in there with under 1,500 defense. Not all of them, but there's a lot. And you could definitely mess up your opponent by having to keep sending these cards to the graveyard and they can't utilize them. And that's a lot with a lot of decks. I mean, if somebody, this is a really bad example, but this is just a funny example. Raccoons, all those monsters have, like, no attack. So if I had, like, 2 raccoons in my hand, I won't, for 3 turns, I will not have any monsters, along with what you destroyed out of my hand. So that just sucks. It's a cool card. I like the concept of the card. Whether it'll see play is, I feel like, is always up to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta and what decks are out and what decks are viable. But with the newer dark decks that are coming out, which I always forget its name, and I should always search it before I make this video, the reason why Allure went to 3, pretty much, those decks could utilize this. And that might, and it'd be interesting to see how, if it could affect the format at all, or if it could destroy it. Once again, though, and I've said this before, sending cards to the graveyard is not as strong as it once was, but it is still a pretty interesting card, and I'm kind of excited to see what it will do. So, with that conclusion, let me know down below, what do you think? Do you think this card is good? Do you think it's bad? I want to see your comments down below. Let me know what you see. And yeah, and I'm just going to remind one more time, hey, if you want to, go vote for me on the next great YouTuber. Link is down below. And I'll see you later, guys. Peace.
Damn.